Psychoanalytic approach. Freud. Before we get into Freud, Freud gets a lot of bad press. Okay, the two reasons why Freud gets bad press, or two criticisms come up more than anything else: sex and drugs. Okay, let's deal with the drugs issue first. Did Freud take cocaine? Yes. Did Freud give cocaine to his patients? Yes. Did Freud abuse cocaine? I don't know. Because definition between abuser and user is messy. Okay. However, let's go back to that. Cocaine was a wonder drug. Most doctors during Freud's time gave their patients cocaine. It was a wonder drug. Every generation was a wonder drug. In the 1950s, 1960s, amphetamines was a wonder drug. Okay, doctors writing prescription strength meth to these bored housewives or people who are depressed. Meth to people who are depressed. Okay, prescriptions. Okay, then they come to find out over time, these individuals, housewives and various individuals were coming into the emergency room full-blown paranoid schizophrenic symptoms. And then a week later, they're normal. Come to find out, it's because the meth elevated the dopamine levels to a certain. So they pulled meth off the market, or the next wonder drug came, Valium. So many women were hooked on Valium. They call it mother's little helper. They come to find out that's negative side effects of Valium. So eventually they pulled that off the market. And then in the late 80s came Prozac, came the new wonder drug. I know one person who was on one therapist was on Prozac, or therapist, a psychiatrist was on Prozac for maintenance. There's a doctor who wrote a book a few years back there in that time period saying it was called "Listen to Prozac." He said his patients feel better than well. Anyway, that's the reason I'm not going to critique Freud as relates to his use of cocaine or given to his patients. Next issue comes up: sex. He's a sexer. No, all Freud implied. Okay, implied. As I said, implied was that people in our culture are obsessed by sex. People in our culture, Western culture, are obsessed by sex. To a certain extent, that's true. How many commercials have sexual undertones? Just ask yourself, how many commercials, or even watch the next couple of weeks, how many commercials have sexual undertones? To a certain extent, Freud was correct. Okay, now let's get into his theory. Id, ego, superego. Is the dog in you? Your all wants and desires. Okay, the part of yourself. I mean, think about back to the critique of trait approach. I mean, how can you fill a questionnaire to analyze your personality and you don't know yourself? How well does anybody know you? Even your mom doesn't really know you as well as she thinks she does. And so what Freud is saying, you know yourself. Compared to the person like an iceberg. You know, the iceberg. Iceberg is there, the water goes up to the level to where you see a very small part of the iceberg. Okay, and so what Freud is saying, there's a lot of things you don't know about yourself. Unconscious. I say one of the biggest influences, not the biggest, one of the major influences of Freud was what really impressed him more than anything else was Darwin's implication that humans are animals. The implication of Darwin. So Darwin's theory, Darwin implies that humans are animals. Okay, because I say that probably should warn religious people, well, that they're animals. Humans thought they were divine beings, but the idea of seeing themselves as animals, that probably shook Westerners up as more as anything else in relation to Darwin's theory. But back to Darwin, the idea of humans are animals. So Freud is saying that humans are animals, and animals have instincts. Humans have instincts too. So that's another assumption of Freud, is instincts guide behavior. Instincts, being salmon. At certain times of the year, they swim up to streams. Okay, they leave the salt water and goes up the streams, right? Animals during certain times of the year go into heat and go into reproduction. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so when we think about that, instincts, doing things. And what Freud is saying, a lot of times we go through what's called automatic pilot. You go through your life, you respond to certain situations, certain people automatically without thinking about it. Okay, so, and let's talk about that. The person has iceberg, unconscious pretty much guides you to a certain extent. In other words, you do things you don't know why you're doing them. Okay, and you have three elements of that: the id, the ego, and the superego. The id, the dog in you, your raw wants and desires. Okay? The id, the raw wants and desires. Okay, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. Okay, all these come from, to a certain extent, the id. Then you have the ego. See, the id has the wants and desires, but the id is like an infant. Infant can't take care of his own needs. That's where ego comes in. Ego's go-getter. It's hungry, it's gonna get the food. It's thirsty, ego's gonna get that, take care of business. Okay, ego takes care of business, but the ego's like a 4-year-old. You ever been our 4-year-olds? What you knocking down for? He's in my way. Why'd you take us to it? I wanted to play with it. Yeah, I don't like you. 4-year-old just look you in the eyes, look you right in the face and say, I don't like you. Okay, and so, but you can't go through life like that. You can't be walking down the street and take somebody's sandwich and run with it just because you want it, right? And that's where the superego comes in. The conscious, your parents' voice at the back of your head. That's not right. You should not do that. As what Freud is saying is people are in constant conflict between your id and your superego. Your id wants something, your superego says, nah, you can't do it. That's not right. You should. And the ego's job is to negotiate between the two. Back in the 1950s, you had the Looney Tunes cartoons, Bugs Bunny, where Angel would be on one shoulder and the devil would be on the other, and the person's trying to decide what to do. Okay, so that's what Freud is saying. People are in constant conflict, and the ego's trying to work it out, and the id has its desires, and the superego saying, no, you can't do that. Now the ego's job is to try to work around it. Okay, and that's where defense mechanism came in. And that's what we'll talk about in the next section.